Hello YouTube, Michael Constantine here. Today I want to talk to you about how UPS would pass their safety inspections and what they would do to fraudulently make it appear as though they were in OSHA compliance. This won't cover everything, but it covers some of the things that I saw during my nearly 10 years working for the company in the warehouse. The warehouse would schedule what was called Ketter audits. This was an internal audit that the company set up where they would artificially slow volume so as to create the illusion that it was a safe workplace. They would send a bunch of people around within the company to inspect facilities on days where they would create a planned slowing of volume to make it look as though facilities were operating within safety compliance tolerance. The volume would be dramatically reduced. They would make sure that there was adequate staffing on those days so that every area was covered by someone. And it would be a slow day, and they would go around and they would harass people about using load retainers and using a two-step plastic footstool that would go in each outbound trailer in the feeder trailers for volume that was going to other hubs. And they would get after people about using hand-to-surface techniques so they weren't throwing or dropping packages. And they would critique people on the perfection of the walls inside the trucks because they wanted the walls to be completely flush with no gaps in them. These were walls of boxes with canvas bags stacked on top of them that were filled with small packages, sometimes dozens or hundreds of small packages. And on those Ketter audit days, we would go around and we would clear the floors, make sure the floors throughout the building stay clear, make sure there are no hazards or plastic bands that would wrap around cardboard boxes left inside the loads or on the floor that people would be tripped by. They called those hub snakes because if it got wrapped around your feet, it would be like a lasso around your feet and you would fall when you tried to take a step, whether you were carrying something or not. And they would also get caught on equipment and they would snag you against the equipment when they got lassoed around your leg and the equipment simultaneously. When OSHA would actually visit the hub, they would tell the company in advance they were coming, and the company would have a scheduled safe work day, meaning that rather than having work days that were safe 7 days a week, 365 days a year, the company would, once again, just like with Ketter, artificially create safe working conditions and change work practices just for that period during which OSHA was visiting the hub. I worked at the hub in Stafford, Texas, off of Stafford Road. It's 13922 Stafford Road. And safety was just a word there. I was the CHSP co-chair on the safety committee for many years, both on preload and on twilight. And I would go around and I would inspect the equipment because I cared. I cared tremendously about my coworkers. I cared about making sure everybody was hydrated. I cared about making sure everybody had working equipment because damaged equipment would create unsafe working conditions. we would have all sorts of problems there. There would be things put through the conveyor system that were dangerous, that weren't supposed to be in the conveyor system. We'd have boxes of bleach and other things like that break loose, break open, and have contents fall out, get damaged, and leak, and dissolve other people's packages. There was all sorts of dangerous stuff, even sharp objects that were shipped inside of boxes that would penetrate the sides of the boxes and cut you if you picked the box up. It was constant. We were always having to mitigate dangerous conditions. We'd get boxes that were leaking broken glass from automotive windows that were shipped, TVs that were shipped. Fan shrouds would get damaged because they would send too much circulation, too much volume through the conveyor system. They would overstack it on the slides, coming down from the sorting positions on the second and third story levels. And the volume would impact the fan shrouds and cause the fan blades to hit the fan shrouds, resulting in permanent damage. They would give out bottles of water and bananas on days when they wanted to make it appear as though they were doing something productive about safety. But in reality, the company would push unsafe levels of volume on the busy days, which was quite often, that would block escape, that's egress, or ingress, which is entry into the feeder trailers and other transportation vehicles at the hub. The company didn't want people who thought for themselves. They didn't want people who would hold the company accountable for safety. They wanted people who were mindless, that would just move as much volume as possible, as fast as possible.